As the story begins, we meet with this hardcore gamer. He has just finished a game after playing it for 3 years, and he is not satisfied because the game was too easy for him. He is bored and wishes for a super hard game that takes at least 10 years to finish. So he starts searching the internet for one such game, and a game suddenly pops up on his screen that promises to never end. This makes him interested in the game, and when he sees the game has an extremely difficult mode called Hell Mode, he becomes excited and immediately chooses it. Next, he is asked to choose a character class, and he sees it has a ton of options with each having its own difficulty rating. As he continues to scroll down, he sees the summoner class has the highest difficulty. He reads in the description that this class is still in alpha testing, so he thinks it will be a fun challenge in his boring life. But as he starts the game, he gets sucked into it. Next thing he knows, he is reborn as a kid inside the game in a surf family. His father picks him up and names him Alan. 1 year has passed since Alan was born in this world. He used to be 35 years old, uneducated, broke gamer, so he has no regrets with his new life, even though he has been born into a surf family. His father Rodan is a hard-working young man, and his mother Teresa is a pretty and sweet girl in her teenage years. Since he is born into the game, Alan is trying to activate his summoning power, but so far he has been unsuccessful. One night, as he attempts to activate his summoning powers, he calls for his status window to appear, and a book appears out of thin air. This causes Alan to scream in surprise, but he manages to hide the book before his parents come inside the room. He starts acting like he is in sleep, so his parents think he must be talking in his sleep. After his parents leave the room, he again summons the book. He then checks his status and learns he is a level 1 summoner. On the next page, he finds the details on his summoning skills, and he learns he can only summon 1 H rank insect at his current level. On the last page, he finds a letter from the administrator of the game, apologizing for sending his grimoire late. After reading all the details, Alan decides to summon the insect. But nothing happened no matter how many times he tries, and he has to figure out how it works since Hell Mode has no tutorial or FAQs. After thinking about it for some time, he figures he first needs to use the create skill. He uses the skill and creates a H rank insect card. As he is about to use that card to summon the insect, he senses his mother is coming, so he again acts like he is in sleep. But his 1-year-old body begins to feel really sleepy, so he decides to summon the insect tomorrow. The next day, after his mother leaves him alone in the room to sleep, he immediately uses the card to summon the insect. As he does that, his room gets filled with blue shining orbs, and a giant green bug appears out of the book. Alan notes it's a giant grasshopper. He tries to give it some commands and learns it's a dumb bug who can't follow any order. He checks the grasshopper status in the grimoire to find any instructions on how to control it. He sees it doesn't have a name, so he names it Denka. Then he notes it has buffs, so he checks his own status and notices Denka has boosted his status. After several days of messing around with his skills, Alan eventually managed to summon another H-rank creature he named Mousy. Mousy is as dumb as Denka, but at least it is smart enough to use its ability whenever he tells it to. He also learns he can stock up to 10 cards for each creature, but more importantly, all the buffs on those cards add up to his status. For example, stacking 10 cards of Mousy, he has become strong enough to surpass any regular baby by a large margin. As his mother takes him outside the house, he sees his father has returned from the hunt. Rodan tells him he took down a boar today and asks if he wants to see it. Alan excitedly tells him he wants to, so Rodan puts him on his shoulders to take him to the boar. On the way, Rodan spots a flock of alba herons flying towards north, and tells Alan that he named him after them since they can use their wings to fly freely wherever they want. They resume their journey and arrive at the spot where Rodan and his group have hunted down the boar. Alan gets surprised after seeing how huge it is. Rodan's friend Gerda comes there to say hello, and he tells everyone their hero has arrived. Everyone starts cheering for Rodan for taking down the huge boar. Then Gerda sees Alan and notices he does have black hair and eyes as Rodan mentioned. Alan says hello to him and asks how strong the boar is. He tells him boars are tough C-rank monsters and they need at least 20 men to take down one. This gives Alan a benchmark that they need 20 men to take down a C-rank monster. After more months, Alan finally hits the level up. He feels the gamer adrenaline rush in his blood and opens his grimoire to see that now he can finally create G-rank creature cards. He also unlocks a skill that fuses summons together to make a powerful summon. Alan wants to fuse some summons together, but he doesn't have enough MP, so he quickly eats all the food he can and tries to fuse 2 Mousa together. But it didn't work because he still lacks MP even though he recovered his MP to max. So he tries creating G-rank card and the same thing happens, which makes him really disappointed that he can't use any of his new skills. By the time Alan turned 3 years old, he got enough boost to his status that now he can use those skills. So first he uses his fuse skill skill to fuse two G rank cards to create a new G rank bird card. He names the bird Chappie, and as he summons it, it comes out of the grimoire. He notes that Chappie's ability is voice mimic, so he thinks it will be good for tricking enemies. Then he summons Hopper the frog and Molly the sharp nail mole. Hopper can use provoke that can be used to distract enemies during battle, and Molly can use dig that can be used to create many pitfall traps. But this is not the only thing he does in his life. Now he has to daily practice duels with Gerda's daughter Krina. Alan doesn't like this one bit because even after pouring all his buffs into agility, he can barely keep up with the speed of Krina, and she beats him every single time, so you can see why he hates dueling with her. By the evening, his parents return after working on the fields, and Alan wants to help his mom since now she is pregnant. After eating dinner, Alan tells his father he wants to help them harvest the taters since mom has a big tummy. But his parents don't want their 3-year-old kid to work on the field. They want him to enjoy life while he can, because eventually he has to do this work. This makes him remember he is born in a serf family and his fate is to work on the fields. His mother asks why he was throwing rocks at the tree. Alan tells her he was doing that so he can protect her from monsters, but actually he was just seeing if he can learn other skills besides summoning. His father gets happy hearing this and mentions he can't wait for his appraisal ceremony. Alan wonders what that is, and they tell him it's a divine ceremony to determine what kind of talent he has. After several more months, Alan becomes capable of summoning a creature for a whole day without running out of MP. He is still getting beaten in duels by Krina every single day, and he is not getting any improvement in that field since he is summoner. As they are playing outside the home with Krina, his mother suddenly goes into labor. So Rodan immediately sends Krina to fetch her mom. While Rodan and Alan tend to Teresa, Alan goes to boil some water for his mom, and he wishes he had played a birthing sim, since he and his father are totally clueless what to do in these situations. Luckily for them, Krina brings her mom Mithida before the time runs out, and Mithida throws all the men out of the room so the ladies can work in peace. That night Alan has to sleep outside of his house, and as the sun comes out, they wake up after hearing the screams of a newborn baby. They immediately rush inside the house and see Teresa has given birth to a healthy young boy. Rodan names his second son Mash. Alan begins to wonder why he was reincarnated in this game. He remembers in his past life he was in total mess, and now he decides he will hoard the best equipment and max out all of his stats, so he can free his family from the drudgery of serfdom. After Alan finally turns 5 years old, his father decides to take him to the appraisal ceremony. Alan asks his father what the appraisal ceremony is like, so he explains it's a special event that everyone from a serf to a noble has to participate in when they turn 5 years old. And if you turn out to have talent, you can rise out of serfdom to a better life. They meet Gerda and Krina on their way, since Krina is also the same age as him and is going to the same ceremony. They arrive at the local village where the ceremony is going to take place. Alan sees the well-groomed line of kids outside the church and wonders if they are commoners like them. They all stand in line with the others, and as the bishops open the gate of the church, they tell the crowd that their god Elmia blesses all of them equally. Therefore, most of the heroes in the past are from serf families. Alan figures this is the game configuration where classes like hero and swordlord have to start from a low social class, and he thinks it is a good thing that everyone from top to bottom has to undergo the ceremony. The bishops instruct everyone to come inside. As he walks inside the church, he sees the statues of gods worshipped by the church, and he recognizes the statue of Elmia, the god of creation, who is actually the administrator of this game. Then the bishops begin the appraisal ceremony and ask village chief Deboji to send his son Palomas for appraisal. They tell him to place his hand on the crystal ball so any talent he has will be inscribed on the metal plate behind him. As Palomas places his hand on the crystal ball, it glows lightly and his status appears on the metal plate. The bishop reads it and tells them his talent is to be a merchant. Deboji is happy that he has a talent to be a merchant, and Alan notes having any talent is a cause for celebration in this world. Because many people don't have any talent, all they can do is cry on their bad luck. The bishop calls a boy named Dogora for appraisal, and they learn he has a talent for using axes, so he jumps for joy. The bishops continue to appraise all the kids there, and in the end only Krina and Alan are left. As Krina places her hand on the crystal ball, it glows brightly. The bishop reads her status and tells them it's a miracle, since she has one of the best talents, the Sword Lord. Everyone is happy for Krina that she has such an awesome talent, and Alan finally figures out why ridiculously OP she is. When they call Alan for appraisal, he thinks his parents will now know he is a summoner. He touches the crystal ball, and it shines so brightly that the whole room fills with its light. But when they ask the bishop about his talent, he tells them he has no talent. So Alan quickly goes to check the status board and sees the devs have glitched the text where his talent was supposed supposed to be written. Alan gets angry at the devs for not debugging the game, but his father thinks he is sad, so he hugs him like a caring parent. They return home and Rodan tells him talents don't matter to them and they are going to love him forever. Alan feels happy that he was born in this family even though they are poor. As Alan sleeps on his bed, he learns from today's event that he is the only one in this world who is playing on Hell mode, and this is the reason why all of his attributes are E rank. As a result, he has to gain 100 times more experience to level up, and he thinks this would make normal people pull their hair out. But he tells himself he is going to put this weak sauce game in its place. Next day, as they head towards Gerda's house to celebrate Krina's newly discovered talent, Alan asks his mom why Dad is acting weird. She tells him his mood is off ever since he got home last night. They arrive at Gerda's house, and Mithida offers the men some liquor the village chief gifted for celebration. But Rodan refuses to take a drink even though he really wants to taste it, and Alan wonders if he is jealous that his daughter became a sword lord. Rodan tries to pour a drink for Gerda, but Gerda refuses to take it this time because Rodan is pouring with a sour look on his face. They start arguing over it, and Gerda asks why he is trying to cut ties with his family. So Rodan explains Krina has an extraordinary talent that one day will make her a noble, and talented people like her shouldn't waste their time socializing with serfs like them. Alan realizes he is trying to do them a favor they didn't ask for, but Gerda refuses to accept his logic and the two men start fighting like little kids. Luckily for them, they have wives who literally smack the sense into their wild brains. The two men calm down and Alan asks Mithida if they always butt heads like this. She tells him they used to be hotheads who threw punches at each other all the time, but fatherhood has helped them calm down. Teresa adds that the four of them are actually childhood friends who grew up in the same village. They moved together to this new village and helped each other build their houses. After the men calmed down, they drank the liquor which they had last tasted at their weddings. Next day, a villager informs Gerda that the Order of the Knights is coming to see Krina. So they take Krina to the spot where the knights are supposed to come, and as they wait for them, Dogora starts trash-talking Alan for standing with a talented Krina. Although Alan didn't mind him, Krina was ready to throw some punches at him. Luckily for him, the Order of the Knights arrives, which is led by the captain of the Knights Sword Master Xenoph. The village chief bows his head to welcome them to his village and calls Krina to meet with the Knights captain. Krina introduces herself to Xenoph and Xenoph informs Gerda that they are going to hold a fencing duel between Krina and the vice captain of the Knights. This shocks Gerda and he tries to explain that her daughter is just a little kid. But Xenoph refuses to listen to whatever he says and he warns them that falsifying the results of the appraisal ceremony is punishable by death. He announces they are going to hold a fencing duel to determine if her talent is real. When Gerda tries to beg mercy for her daughter, Xenoph warns him if she doesn't fight, they will execute her and her family. As Krina sees a real sword for the first time in her life, she excitedly agrees to fight in the duel so she can use it. They give her the sword and she holds that sword in one hand like it's nothing. Her opponent is Vice Captain Leibrand, who has the talent of a spear user. As the duel begins, Krina launches a flurry of strikes at him, but Leibrand blocks each of them easily. He then kicks Krina and she smashes into a wall behind them. Everyone loses their cool over this since this is all too much for a kid like Krina. But just then Krina unknowingly activates her extra skill and launches a series of hard-hitting strikes at Leibrand. This time the strikes are too powerful for Leibrand to block and he almost loses his head. Xenoph declares the duel is over and the winner is Krina. Leibrand accepts his defeat in front of everyone. Gerda is surprised his daughter actually defeated the vice captain of the Knights, but more than that he is just happy she survived. Xenoph has no doubt left that she is the real deal. He approaches the two of them and apologizes to Gerda for putting him through hell. He wishes to discuss her future with him, and after noticing he still doesn't trust him, he tells him to bring his friend along if it makes him comfortable. Gerda and Rodan agree and Xenoph takes them to the village chief's house to discuss Krina's future. As they all sit down at the dinner table, Alan wonders why Dogora and his dad are here, but more importantly he wants to sneak some Malmo fruits home for his mom. Xenoph notices Gerda is still grumpy about the whole thing, so he informs the village chief that his lord has decided to name this village Krina village to honor the sword lord. Then he explains why they were conducting the duel. He tells them a sword lord was born to the family of a count, and he went to serve the royal family but failed to meet expectations. So they again appraised him and found he was an ordinary swordsman. Afterward, they discovered other nobles had exaggerated their talents, so the king has made it mandatory to thoroughly verify all results. He again apologizes to Gerda and he finally accepts his apology. Xenoph tells him when Krina becomes 12 years old, she can go study at the academy and eventually serve directly under the royal family. Alan gets excited that there is an academy for people with talents, and Dogora wonders if he can gain admission to the academy. Xenoph tells him they will dispatch an instructor and tells him to do his best to earn admission into the academy. Then Xenoph wonders who Alan is because of his dark hair and eyes, so Rodan tells him he is his son. After learning Rodan is the famous boar hunter, Xenoph stands up to pay his respects to him. Rodan wonders how he knows about him. He tells him the Baron is fond of boar meat supplied by his village each winter, and he has heard a man named Rodan takes on the most dangerous role in the hunt. Alan realizes that hunting a boar is really a big deal, and because of that his dad is a hero. After the meeting ends, they head back to their homes, and Alan shows his dad he snuck out some fruits for Mom and Mash. He wonders if he did the wrong thing, so Rodan shows him he did the same and they laugh about it.